Today we're going to set up the Medislim display, and we have one here down on the floor, so with no further more ado, I will open one up, show you the components and show you the steps in order to put one together properly and so that it'll hold all the product. First of all, you should have received your round box here, which should have a label on the edge showing you that it's Medislim and a product code. Within the box you will have a yellow mailer which will have the instructions, a DVD, double-sided tape, and also in the box you'll have all the componentry that you'll require to make the three-dimensional stand to hold the Medislim product. Alright, so we open the box and all the components are in there that we'll need. Within the box, the first part will be the kicker, which is the lowest part of the display, which actually forms the first part of your shelf. Then you have the main body, then you have the top of your display, which is the header. Then we have these internal struts, which actually form the base supports. Then we have your printed shelves, and there'll be 3 of these. Then we have the shelf inserts or lifters, which give the shelf their thickness, so you should get 4 of those in a pack. Then we have 3 shelf supports. Then we have a few little auxiliary bits. One is a booklet holder, which is quite simple to fold up. And then we have a little wedge, which folds up to create a bit of an angle for one of the shelves. We have a brochure holder, which goes next to the large graphic at the top. And lastly, you should have a yellow envelope, which has the instructions included, and the DVD, which you would no doubt have watched by now, plus some double-sided tape, which will also be used in the display. All right, the first thing to grab would be the main body, which is the largest component in the box. And it will come like this, all flat, and then the first thing to do is fold down the sides to double the wall thickness. And while you're doing that, I would flick these tabs out so that they're all protruding out, like that. And what you'll also notice when you fold this is there's a correct way to fold it. If you were to fold it the other way, it doesn't like it, the cardboard. There's some resistance there. So if you feel like you've got to force it, then flip it over and fold it the other way. It should be just like that. And then what you'll also find with it, sometimes you just need to knock out any additional things that haven't been cut out properly. The first step would be to just do that, really. Fold those down, those flaps, which is the base. And then this is where we get the kick, and then I would also crease these, overbend these folds at the base so that you've got a nice, so that they're 90 degrees. Then we've got our kicker here. So also important to overbend all this before you do it. So I would fold it practically back on itself. As long as you fold away from the print, like I'm doing there, there's really only one way to fold this. If you were to fold it the other way, you wouldn't have any print on it. So that's like that. Now what we do is we get our double-sided tape, which was in your yellow envelope, and we get 2 tabs, we peel them off there like that, and we just place it on the back of that kicker there like that. Now I'll just show you. So that's essentially on the raw side. You've got your print there and those at the top there like that. Now once they're all folded, what you do is they actually locate into here. So you might have to push those out with your finger, and that's where that tab, and there's some folds there that help you actually get that same angle, which is, and then all you do is you just rotate them in there, just slide them in there and then push them out so that they don't come through again. I'll also do the same for this side. Okay, so now you've got your double-sided tape on the top of that section, so you peel it off. Peel that off. So now we've got an adhesive bond there ready to lock onto the flap that we're going to encapsulate behind that. So with that there, so all we do is we get our 2 hands, make sure your flap is nice and flush internally. So that should be folded right back on itself. Now we've essentially got some structure to work with. Once we have that standing, those little tabs that are in there, it's best to fold them so that they're not going to be the same angle and slide out of that recess that we've just put it into. So you want to make sure that that's adhered well by overfolding or underfolding that little wing section that we went through, that we slid through that slot. If this front face is, when you lock it into position, it should be nice and flush to the main body, no gaps in there. The next step, once you've got it freestanding, is to get your raw struts, and these just interlock together. That is a base that will form a bit of the structure for the first shelf. So we just drop that down like that. So there's your lattice. Then this will just drop internally here. So there's your step 2 really. Now you've got all you need to build the first shelf. From that point, we grab one of these shelf risers. Now there's 4 in the kit of these. And what we do, they're already creased, so we over crease them. Just try and bend them right on top of themselves, so they stretch back to about 90 degrees. Then this will just, you just try and slide it into position, and it will drop down over the lattice. And that gives you all the strength, that lattice work there. At this point, once you've got the first shelf into position, the lattice work underneath, the front graphic, it should all be freestanding in order for you to build it from the ground up. Okay, so then from here, I would get the double-sided tape. You should have 6 more of these left. It was 8 initially. And then it's just a matter of applying it on the inside of each tab, okay? And then just attach it, apply it, push it on. And then we go across to the other side and do the same. Push it on, same again, same again. From that point, we've got these 3 shelf inserts which give the shelf the support. So it's a matter of folding that 90 degrees, folding that 90 degrees, folding these down to give it the structure. And then you should have a configuration like that. Then that just goes into position here. Nests against the side walls and against the back wall. And from that point there, we can go and build the next shelf. So from here, we grab one of the printed shelves and we pre-fold everything just to make it easier before we put it into the display. So we fold everything up, overbend it so that it flicks out to about 90 degrees. Overbend that again until it comes out to about 90. We do the same there. Now from this point, we disregard these holders there, and all we do is we rest it on the back. Make sure all these edges are folded down flush, and we rest that against the back wall and the sides. Where we use the sticky tape now is we peel these front tabs, and then what we do is we fold them in 90 degrees. And then this is where we actually fold around the tab. Very important at this stage when you fold over the tabs like this, that we don't have the tab sticking out like that, because it's not going to give us the most structure. So when we do it, we push it right in and make sure it's nice and flush to the blue front. And then from there, it's probably best if I get in front at this stage. And so you can see how I'm pushing that so it's nice and flush. And from here, we make sure that the tabs are pushed in, and then this is where we fold over the top of them. And then there's some tabs here that actually lock when we fold over it. They locate into the floor. And so there's the first shelf. You should have another 3 of these, which are shelf risers, and we pre-fold all of these again. This will drop down into the first shelf, and it will actually hold this into position so it doesn't flare up. So that should just drop down internally. You make sure we tuck it down inside the folded up, so that just gives it your shelf riser. That is the final step for shelf 2. Shelf 1 being there, shelf 2 being that one. Completing shelf 3 and 4, it's the same procedure. We still go in there with the wrap, which is the shelf support. Then we get the printed graphic and place it on top of the wrap. And then we pre-peel those, fold the blue shelf over that, then repeat that step again, have the insert in there, peel these and fold the blue wrap over that, and then put the shelf riser in there as well. Okay, at this point, you should have the display with all 4 shelves into position. So all the supports should be in between each of the shelves, so to give it the strength that's required. This is the printed graphic which will actually sit up there at the top of the display. So we'll pre-fold everything, and by pre-folding we'll actually be exposing some of the flaps, and fold that across there like that, and essentially you can see that it's forming a box section. Now with that in mind, you'll notice that we've got the 4 tabs facing out the back, and we've got this one, so 5 tabs in total. So if we look at the end tab, that will actually be going to the right hand side of the display. And then these 2 top ones will actually go over the top of the unit and fold back in under there. And then these lower ones will actually go in through the lowest slot and fold up behind, and then come protruding back into the back of the unit. Okay, so with no further ado, we just push all the tabs through the slots. So you should have 2 at the bottom, 1 on the vertical, and 2 coming over the top of the back of the unit, there like that. Now with that, what we do is we fold it back in on itself. Once you do this, you can't get it, it's pretty well in position. There's no more going back. Actually, that tab should fold onto the inside. So these slots are smaller, but there is a small perforation there so that we can actually push through so that it's an interference fit, and it's very hard to come out. So you'll notice the lower one, it's a much bigger slot, so that's the first part where the tab would go through, and then you can sort of see there that there's the serrations there again. And this one, sometimes you might come across this where it hasn't cut out properly, so you just either need to just push it through with your finger, or with some sort of an instrument, whether it be a bread and butter knife, and there, that's it. You can sometimes just push it through anyway. And there you go, that's all locked into position. It's not going to go anywhere. At this point, the 3 remaining components are very straightforward. They're only made of 1 part, and it's a simple folding up to create the structure. So you have one which would be the brochure holder, which fits towards the right. Then you have a small booklet holder which basically folds in on itself. And then you have a little wedge which tucks down there to create a bit of an angle, just to incline some of the bars. At this stage, you have your 4 shelves in, you have your printed header in, you've got your brochure, you've got your booklet, you've got your wedge. All tabs should be nicely symmetrical, none pulling out at this stage. And at this stage, you're ready to start putting the product on as per the planogram that you may have been given.